The rain fell hard that night. Cold. Relentless. Somewhere, in a forgotten corner of a broken neighborhood, a small, frail dog curled up beside a rusted dumpster. His fur, once golden, was now matted and streaked with mud. He shivered uncontrollably, but he didn't cry. Not anymore. He had stopped crying years ago. They say animals don't feel pain the way we do. But that's not true. Not for him. He felt every second of those long 7 years. Every hungry night. Every harsh word. Every footstep that passed him by without stopping. Hope, once a flame in his heart, had become a flicker. But tonight, something was different. Hook ends 30 seconds. Part 1. The first time we saw him, he didn't even lift his head. He just lay there, motionless, as if life had already passed him by. I remember pulling over and stepping into the rain, unsure what I was even looking at. From a distance, he looked like a bundle of trash. But then I saw the slow rise and fall of his chest. "Hey, buddy," I whispered, kneeling down slowly. He flinched. Not because he feared me, but because touch was unfamiliar. Kindness was a stranger. He was skin and bones. Every rib visible. His eyes, deep brown and glassy, carried a weight I'd never seen before. It wasn't just sadness. It was surrender. I offered him food. He didn't move. I left it a few feet away and stepped back, letting the rain do its slow dance between us. Minutes passed. Then he sniffed. Cautiously, he dragged himself forward and took a small bite. That was the beginning. We visited him every day after that. We learned that the locals called him Rusty. Some remembered seeing him around years ago as a puppy, a beautiful golden retriever that someone had once tied to a pole and never returned for. Over time, the leash had disappeared, but Rusty never left. He stayed in the same alley, the same street corner, as if still waiting for someone, hoping they'd come back. But they never did. The kids would sometimes toss him scraps. Others ignored him. Some were cruel. They threw stones, shouted. One man had even sprayed him with a hose to keep him away from his store. And yet, Rusty never barked, never growled. He just stayed. The rain that week didn't let up. And each day we brought him a fresh towel, some food, and sat near him in silence. I spoke softly, telling him about my day, about my dog Max back home, about how I wished things could be different. And slowly, Rusty started listening. One afternoon, as the clouds finally cleared, I found him waiting. Not hiding. Not curled in a corner. But sitting up. Watching the road, as if he knew I was coming. "Hey, Rusty," I smiled. His tail moved. Just once. A flicker of trust. It had been years since he'd wagged that tail. That day, for the first time, I touched him. Really touched him. I ran my hand along his back, feeling every bump of his spine, every scar, every memory etched into his thin frame. He didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned into me. I looked into his eyes and saw something shift. It wasn't hope. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of it. Taking Rusty home wasn't easy. He didn't understand cars. The sound of the engine terrified him. He cried the whole way, curling into a ball in the back seat. But we made it. And when we arrived, I opened the door and said, "Welcome home, Rusty." He didn't step out. He just looked around, unsure, eyes wide. So I sat down on the driveway beside him. In silence. After a few minutes, he stepped out and placed his paw on the ground. It was the first step he'd ever taken toward something new. Inside the house, Max, my old golden retriever, approached him. Rusty froze. But Max didn't bark or growl. He simply walked up, sniffed him, and gently nuzzled his side. It was as if he knew. As if he was saying, "You're safe now." Rusty collapsed beside him, exhausted. Not from the journey, but from years of waiting. That night, for the first time in 7 long years, Rusty slept on a bed. It wasn't much, an old mattress with a blanket. But to him, it was heaven. I checked on him before going to sleep. He was curled up tightly, but his breathing was steady, peaceful. And just before I turned off the light, I saw it. His tail. It moved. Just once. A silent thank you. To be continued. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. For a moment, everything was still, peaceful. Then I heard it, a soft rustle, followed by the tiniest sound of nails tapping on the wooden floor. Rusty was awake. He stood at the edge of the mattress, staring out the window. His body was still tense, as if bracing for something bad to happen. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight. Trust, once broken, rebuilds slowly, like morning light chasing away the dark. I crouched beside him. "Morning, Rusty," I said softly. He didn't move away. I extended my hand slowly. He leaned forward, then paused. And then gently he licked my fingers. It was the first time he initiated contact. That simple gesture? It wrecked me. Breakfast was another challenge. Rusty didn't seem to know how to eat from a bowl. He nudged it, sniffed it, looked around nervously. It took Max walking over and eating from his own bowl for Rusty to finally understand it was okay. Safe. Every sound, a door closing, a truck outside, even laughter, made Rusty jump. But each time Max was there. Calm. Steady. Like an anchor in a storm. Slowly, Rusty began following him around, copying his steps. In many ways, Max became his mentor. His guide back to the world. 3 days later, I took them both to the park. It was open and green, filled with people and other dogs. I worried it would overwhelm him. But when I opened the car door, Rusty jumped out. Not ran. Just stepped out. His eyes were wide. His tail low. But he walked. Max stayed close. A little girl came up with a bright pink ball and asked, "Can I pet your dogs?" I was about to say no, to protect Rusty, but before I could answer, she was already kneeling. "Hi there," she whispered, reaching out. Rusty froze. Then he looked at Max. Max wagged his tail. Rusty took a single step forward. She giggled. He's shy. He let her touch him. And for the first time, I saw Rusty's ears lift, just a bit. That evening, we sat in the backyard, a blanket under the stars. Rusty lay beside Max, their bodies touching. I scratched behind his ear, and he leaned into it. No flinching. No fear. It was progress. Over the next week, Rusty discovered things he'd missed his whole life. The joy of chasing leaves in the wind. The smell of fresh grass. The feel of warm sunlight on his face without the fear of being chased away. He started greeting me at the door when I came home. At first, he just stood there. Then a soft bark. A wag. We visited the vet for a full checkup. He was malnourished. Several old injuries had healed poorly. His teeth were worn down, likely from years of gnawing on whatever he could find. The vet looked at me with sad eyes. "He's lucky you found him when you did. Another winter out there, he wouldn't have made it." Those words hit hard. But Rusty, he was a fighter. Quiet but strong. Each night, he curled beside Max, who never left his side. And each morning, he greeted the world a little brighter than before. One day, I left the door open a little too long, and Rusty ran outside. Panic flooded me. I dropped everything, calling his name, racing through the neighborhood. After 20 minutes, I found him. Not far. Just down the street. Sitting in front of the same alley where we first met. Staring. I approached slowly. Sat down beside him. He didn't look at me. Just kept watching that space. Maybe he remembered. Maybe part of him still hoped they'd come back. "They're not coming, Rusty," I said gently. He blinked. A slow, heavy blink. And then he stood, turned around, and walked back with me. It was a goodbye. A quiet, powerful moment. He was ready to let go. That night, something changed. He played with a toy for the first time. It was Max's old squeaky bone. He chewed it, growled playfully, even tossed it in the air. I laughed. I cried. Rusty was learning how to be a dog again. But just as we settled into this new rhythm, life threw us another curveball. Max started slowing down. He was 13. Arthritis, the vet said. His legs didn't carry him like before. He slept more. Moved less. Rusty noticed. He stopped playing. Stayed close to Max, nudged him gently. Licked his face. Sat beside him in the sun. Their roles were shifting. Rusty had found strength. And now he was giving it back. To be continued. The days grew quieter. Max, once the strong, silent guardian, now moved slowly, each step careful, deliberate. His eyes were the same, full of wisdom, kindness, and quiet understanding, but his body was growing tired. Rusty noticed everything. He followed Max everywhere, never more than a step behind. If Max struggled to climb onto the couch, Rusty would sit beside him on the floor. If Max lay in the sun too long, Rusty would nudge him, urging him toward the shade. Their bond had become something unspoken, something deeper than companionship. Then one morning, Max didn't get up. I found Rusty lying beside him, his head resting on Max's side, eyes open and alert. Max was breathing. Slowly. Gently. I sat beside them, wrapping an arm around them both. We stayed like that for hours. No words. Just love. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Max took his last breath. Rusty didn't whimper. He didn't cry. He just stayed. still, present. And then he lifted his head and looked at me. There was sorrow in his eyes, yes, but also strength. The kind that comes from surviving, from healing, from learning to love again. We buried Max under the big oak tree in the backyard, the same tree where they used to nap together in the afternoons. Rusty sat beside the grave for hours. The wind played with his fur, and for a moment, I thought I saw Max's spirit there too, watching over him. In the days that followed, Rusty changed. Not broken, but reborn. He became more confident. He began playing again, this time with real joy. He greeted neighbors with soft barks, and when children ran to pet him, he didn't flinch. He leaned into their hands, eyes closed, savoring every second. He even made friends at the dog park. Real friends. Dogs he ran with, rolled in the grass with, chased balls alongside. Rusty had become whole. And then, one summer afternoon, as we sat on the porch, he came over and placed his head in my lap. I scratched behind his ears, and he let out a deep, contented sigh. In that moment, I realized something. Rusty didn't just survive those 7 years. He taught us something profound. That even the most wounded hearts can heal. That love, when offered with patience and consistency, can rebuild a soul from nothing. That we are never too far gone to begin again. And perhaps most importantly, animals don't just need us. We need them too. Asterisk asterisk. Rusty may have waited 7 long years for someone to love him. But in the end, he gave back something far greater. He taught me to slow down, to see the forgotten, to care when it's inconvenient. Rusty's story isn't just about rescue. It's about redemption. His. And ours. So if you ever see a stray animal, don't look away. Stop. Speak softly. Reach out. Because you never know .. That moment could be the start of something extraordinary. For them. And for you. .. the end.